Can you talk about more on what happens if that expectation is not met? How can they get more out of you? Or how can they get more out of the content?
Really a challenge, right? Because TikTok has become a lot more competitive than it was 1 year, 2 years ago. There's a lot more people, creators, brands on the platform, and everyone really fighting to get those views. So it has become a lot more challenging, and oftentimes you are disappointed with the actual outcome. But I think consistency is really important. Being able to show up on a consistent basis and say, hey, we're putting in the work. We know that we're putting in our best effort to be able to communicate the product and also play into the language of the platform. If internally you feel like you're doing that at the highest possible level, then there's not much else you can do. Obviously, you can revisit basically how is this being shot? Are there better hooks that you can actually implement? Are there better angles? Should we be implementing different features like voiceover, different ways of storytelling? I think a lot of it is finding what works and finding repetitive or constant ways to re-communicate that same idea, if that makes sense.
I got you. I got you. You understand a lot about paid ads. I've seen from your content that you understand a lot about paid ads. Explain that to our audience. What is a paid ad for TikTok? How does it really work? Is it really working for brands?
This platform has moved so quickly since I think a year and a half when I had ran my first TikTok ad, right? But I think that's number one. I think going back to who this is actually for, just until recently, TikTok rolled out city targeting on TikTok. So you weren't actually able to target specific cities or locations, just countries and at times states, right? So I think for service-based businesses, it wasn't incredibly effective. I think that market is really opening itself up because TikTok has sort of like fallen into a mass adoption stage. But initially, I primarily work with apps and e-commerce, right? A little bit more with apps. I have a lot more experience with apps than actual e-com. That being said, what do you want to know specifically about TikTok ads?
Talk about the apps. So that's pretty cool that TikTok is actually opening up the strategy to target around you, around your area in cities. It's totally different from a Facebook ad. Is that correct or am I wrong?
The sequencing is quite similar. And from what I've been told, they're actually taking a lot of people from Facebook's like ad platform development team and bringing them into TikTok. So in terms of UI and just overall execution, it's quite similar. Targeting capabilities are a little bit different, and there are some areas for improvement, of course, but it is a young platform and it's going to continue to develop. It really comes down to creative, right? And I think testing out as many creatives as you can, that a lot of people are under the impression that, oh, every single TikTok ad needs to be like native to the platform, using a trend, XYZ, and that's not necessarily the case. I think a lot of people overlook and they don't necessarily understand that there's a big difference between a good organic post and a good ad, right? Because an organic post that might go viral may not even communicate the core benefits of your product. Sure, it's interesting, sure, it's engaging, but at the same time, at the end of the day, maybe you're not communicating your actual product to the audience. So it's not really a direct response effort, right? So I think that there's some key differences there in terms of video sequencing, how it's set up, how you actually communicate, showcase, so many different things. And I think that's overlooked at times, especially for new advertisers. But that being said, I mean, it's pretty much like any other platform that you'll see that's on social, very similar to Facebook, pull some elements from Snap. I think Pinterest is more so like a combination of Facebook and Google in a sense. So I wouldn't compare it to that, but definitely some affinity between Facebook ads and TikTok ads.